I will begin by singing the Mangalacharana prayers and leading a short kirtan, and then speak about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh yes, incidentally, I'm wearing this special bead bag, which shows Lord Chaitanya and the Panchatattva dancing at the Rath Yatra. It was a gift, kind gift from His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami in South Africa, who had it made by some devotees in Eastern Europe. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Titinamane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paripradhyakacharya Stotra Sitasi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayom Vishnupad Paramahansa Pariprajakacharya Stotra Satasri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So again, my dear devotees, as far as possible, please turn on your cameras so you can see your moving faces and have a more personal experience. Okay. So we have gathered on the most auspicious occasion of Sri Gaura Purnima, the appearance day of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna Chaitanya. The second verse of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, that means Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 2, beautifully describes the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Godo Daye Pushpavantu Chitro Sando Tamo Nudo. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Sri Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, who are like the sun and the moon. They have arisen simultaneously on the horizon of Goda to dissipate the darkness of ignorance and thus wonderfully bestow benediction upon all. And there's another beautiful verse, 2 verses later, that describes the special purpose of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's descent. Anarpita charim chirat karunyavatirna kalo samarpaitum unatojvala rasam swabhakti shriyam haripurata sundara duti kadamba sandipita sada hridaye kandare spurato vasachinandana. May that Lord who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. This is a blessing. I'll read it again. May that Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Sachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he has appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy, to bestow what no incarnation ever offered before, the most elevated mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. This verse was actually composed by Srila Rupa Goswami, but Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has included it as the fourth verse in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And when Rupa Goswami met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he glorified him with a prayer with which many of us may be familiar. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaura Tvishe Namaha. So, Namo Mahavadanyaya, I offer my obeisances to the most munificent incarnation of Godhead. Why? Krishna Prema Pradayate, because he is freely delivering love of Krishna. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine, and he is known by the name of Krishna Chaitanya. Gaura Tvishe Namaha. Although he is Krishna, but he doesn't have the blackish color of Krishna, but he has the golden color of Srimati Radharani. And that is also described in the next two verses of this great masterpiece, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'll just read the translation. Text 5. The loving affairs of Sri Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of the Lord's internal pleasure-giving potency. Although Radha and Krishna are one in their identity, they separated themselves eternally. Now these two transcendental identities have again united in the form of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. I bow down to him who has manifested himself with the sentiment, and that the Sanskrit word for sentiment here is bhava, and complexion, duty, of Srimati Radharani, although he is Krishna himself. So originally there is Krishna, and to increase his pleasure, he expanded himself into two, Radha and Krishna. And now the two, Radha and Krishna, have combined together again as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There was once an interesting discussion on this point in Calcutta. We were staying in a renting, you could say, a quarter of a big mansion in a good section of Calcutta. And the owner of the building was Mr. Singh Roy, who's a Bengali. And one day, our Chutananda Swami had a discussion with Mr. Singh Roy, who had his own theory about Radha and Krishna and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. According to Mr. Singh Roy, first Chaitanya Mahaprabhu existed, and then came Radha and Krishna. And furthermore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is greater than Radha and Krishna. Just like Rasagula is greater than milk and sugar. So Chutananda Swami brought the report of his conversation with Mr. Singh Roy to Srila Prabhupada, and I happened to be there in the room with other devotees. And so Chutananda Swami asked, who comes first? Radha and Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Srila Prabhupada replied, Radha and Krishna. The same example, first milk and sugar exist, and then they combine and become Rasagula. And then Achyutananda asked, and who is greater, Radha and Krishna or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And Srila Prabhupada looked at, pointed out a picture on his wall of Srimati Radharani in Man, which is a type of transcendental jealous anger, in which she, of course, it's all for Krishna's pleasure. All these different emotions and displays of sentiment are for Krishna's pleasure. So in this picture, Srimati Radharani is sitting on a somewhat elevated platform, and Krishna is sort of kneeling at her feet, begging her to give up her sulky mood and accept him again. So Srila Prabhupada said Srimati Radharani is the greatest. And then he pointed to the next picture, which showed little Krishna carrying Nanda Maharaj's shoes on his head. And then he said, Nanda Maharaj is the greatest, because Krishna is carrying his shoes on his head. And then he concluded that that the devotee is the greatest. But still, among all the devotees, Srimati Radharani is the greatest. Her love for Krishna is the greatest. And so the final conclusion is that she's the greatest. In fact, in Varshana, which is the place of Srimati Radharani, they have a saying that whatever Radha does, Krishna likes. And whatever Krishna And whatever Radha likes, Krishna does. In other words, suggesting that Krishna is under the control of Srimati Radharani, or we could say under the control of her love. So Lord Chaitanya, as we have been discussing, oh yes, one more verse. That was Adi 1.5, and we'll just Adi 1.6. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. So again, the same point and the same word, Baba Adya, richly endowed with the emotions of Srimati Radharani. So this is the, you could say, secret of the appearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the identity of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the purpose for which Krishna appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now we have been discussing Krishna assuming the mood of Srimati Radharani and thus appearing as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what is the mood of Srimati Radharani? Of course, in relationship to Krishna, her mood is a pure love, Mahabhav. But in relation to us, what is her mood? So this is explained in the Nectar of Devotion, chapter 22, Qualities of Krishna. Number 32, compassionate. And listen to this definition of compassion. A person who is unable to bear another's distress is called compassionate. Krishna's compassion was exhibited when Grandfather Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows, which had been shot through his body. Bhishma was very anxious to see Krishna, and thus Krishna appeared there. Upon seeing the pitiable condition of Bhishma, Krishna began speaking with tears in his eyes. Not only was he shedding tears, but he forgot himself in his compassion. Therefore, instead of offering obeisances to Krishna directly, devotees offer obeisances to his compassionate nature. Actually, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it is very difficult to approach him. But the devotees, taking advantage of his compassionate nature, which is represented by Radharani, always pray to Radharani for Krishna's compassion. And this compassion, a person who is unable to bear another's distress is called compassionate. This compassion is exhibited in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's desire for all souls to be delivered. Because as long as one is in the material world, one is bound to suffer. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, being compassionate in the mood of Srimati Radharani, doesn't want the conditioned souls to remain in bondage, but he wants to see them delivered. And in a discussion with Haridas Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expressed this concern. The discussion is recorded in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 3. We begin with text 49. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Haridas Thakur as usual, and in the course of discussion, he inquired as follows. My dear Haridas Thakur, in this age of Kali, most people are bereft of Vedic culture, and therefore they are called Yavanas. They're concerned only with killing cows and political culture. In this way, they engage in sinful acts. How will these Yavanas be delivered? To my great unhappiness, I do not see any way. So this is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's compassionate mood, which is Radharani's compassionate mood. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, this verse reveals the significance of Lord Sri Chaitanya's appearance as Patit Pavan, the deliverer of the fallen souls. Srila Narottam Das Thakur sings, Patit Pavana Hetu Tava Avatar. O my Lord, you have appeared just to deliver the fallen souls. Mo Sama Patita Prabhu Napai Be Ar. And among all the fallen souls, I am the lowest. So my claim comes first. Now this particular verse of Narottam Das Thakur's follows the pattern that Srila Prabhupada gave for offering a prayer. Of course, the main ingredient in a prayer is the mood of devotion, love and devotion. But still, Srila Prabhupada said that in offering a prayer, first, one should state the qualification of the personality to whom one is praying. Then one should state one's own disqualification, and then one should pray for mercy. So here Narottam Das Thakur states the qualification of Lord Chaitanya, Patit Pavana, that you are the deliverer of the fallen souls. And then he states his own disqualification. Mosamo Patita Prabhu Napai Pe'ar. And among all the fallen souls, I am lowest. And then he prays for mercy. So please deliver me. So This statement so how Sri Krishna, coming back to the purport, how Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always thinking about the deliverance of the fallen souls is shown by the statement, A dukkha apara. It is my great unhappiness. This statement indicates that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna himself, is always very unhappy to see the fallen souls in this material world. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is so merciful that he not only gives knowledge of Krishna, but by his practical activity teaches everyone how to love Krishna. And then Srila Prabhupada addresses us. Those who are following in the footsteps of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should take the Lord's mission most seriously. One who identifies himself as a follower of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu should feel like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who said, Iha sabara kon mata ha ibe nistar. How will all these yavanas be delivered? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always anxious to deliver the fallen souls because their fallen condition gave him great unhappiness. That is the platform on which one can propagate the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Srila Raghunath Das Goswami prays, and in his words, he describes the Vaishnav as paradukkha dukhi, that he is unhappy in the unhappiness of others, which means that he's compassionate. Vaishnav is compassionate, paradukkha dukhi. He's unhappy in the unhappiness of others, and therefore he tries to make them happy. Now, what did Haridas Thakur say in reply? He said, my dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. Do not be unhappy to see the condition of the yavanas in material existence. And Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, and again, this is very important guidance for us. These words of Haridas Thakur are just befitting a devotee who has dedicated his life and soul to the service of the Lord. When the Lord is unhappy because of the condition of the fallen souls, the devotee consoles him, saying, my dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. This is service. Everyone should adopt the cause of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to try to relieve him from the anxiety he feels. This is actually service to the Lord. One who tries to relieve Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's anxiety for the fallen souls is certainly a most dear and confidential devotee of the Lord. And certainly that describes our beloved Srila Prabhupada. And at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna also says the same thing, that the preacher is his most dear servant, and no one will ever be more dear. So Haridas Thakur responded by explaining how the yavanas could be delivered. But then Lord Chaitanya, so coming to text 66, As Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard this from Haridas Thakur about how the Yavanas could be delivered, the happiness within his heart increased, but still he inquired further. On this earth, there are many living entities, the Lord said, some moving and some not moving. What will happen to the trees, plants, insects, and other living entities? How will they be delivered from material bondage? So moving means, all sorts of birds and beasts. And non-moving means trees and plants. So Lord Chaitanya was concerned about them as well. Haridas Thakur replied, "My dear Lord, the deliverance of all moving and non-moving living entities takes place only by your mercy. You have already granted this mercy and delivered them. You have loudly chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, and everyone, moving or non-moving, has benefited by hearing it." This reminds me of an incident that took place with Srila Prabhupada in the early days when he first came to New York City. He was living in an apartment, and the landlord wanted to fumigate, means he called an exterminator to exterminate the pests, the pests, the bugs, the rodents. Srila Prabhupada refused to allow the fumigation to take place in his apartment. And the result was that all the bugs and whatever from all the other apartments came to Srila Prabhupada's apartment. And Srila Prabhupada commented, "Just see, they're taking shelter of Krishna consciousness." So, so yes, Srila Prabhupada, in the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he extended his mercy even to the insects, rodents. So, yes, Haridas Thakur continues that when loud chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is performed all over the world by those who follow in your footsteps, all living entities, moving and non-moving, dance in ecstatic devotional love. Now, Srila Prabhupada also said that we should not walk on the grass because that causes pain to the grass. But if we have to walk on the grass, we should chant Hare Krishna. And that way, at least the grass will benefit. The living entities within the body of grass will benefit. And Haridas Thakur concludes, "You have preached loud chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and in this way freed all moving and non-moving living entities from material bondage." Now, how do we understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's inner mood? It is possible only by his mercy, a mercy that he has bestowed upon his confidential associates, and then through them, through the pages of Chaitanya Charitamrita especially, we can understand his inner mood. And there is one incident described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antya-lila chapter 1, that explains how only by his mercy one can understand his inner mood. So at the Rath Yatra in Puri, Lord Chaitanya would recite what appeared to be, well, it was actually a verse from a mundane love song. And only Swarup Damodar Goswami, Lord Chaitanya's personal secretary, could understand the purpose for which the Lord recited that verse. But one year, Rupa Goswami happened to attend the Rath Yatra, and he also heard Lord Chaitanya recite that verse. And he understood the secret meaning behind his reciting that verse. And I'll read the translation of that verse so you understand the connection here. So Lord Chaitanya recited, "That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra. The same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing from the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I am eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vetasi tree. That is my desire." Now, I'll read the verse composed by Rupa Goswami, which you could say explains the inner meaning of apparently mundane love song in relation to Krishna consciousness. So Rupa Goswami verse reads the translation. "My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. Because after Krishna left Vrindavan, all the residents were feeling a separation from him. But on the occasion of an eclipse in Kurukshetra, the residents of Vrindavan decided to go to Kurukshetra to see Krishna. But they were not very happy there, especially Srimati Radharani. She was feeling that, that instead of Krishna being decorated with a peacock feather and playing a flute, he's now, dressed as a royal king or prince. And, instead of the sound of the birds, peacocks and other birds, there's the sound of chariots, the rattling of chariots and elephants. So that's what she was feeling, that, I'm the same Radharani and you're the same Krishna, but it's not the same here in Kurukshetra. So please come back to Vrindavan. And Chaitanya's mood in the Rath Yatra was pulling Krishna pulling Lord Jagannath back to Vrindavan in the mood of Srimati Radharani. And in that context, the Jagannath temple at Nilachal represents Kurukshetra, or Dwarka, Kurukshetra, and the Gundicha temple at Sundarachal represents Vrindavan. So in the Rath Yatra, Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of Srimati Radharani, pulling Krishna back to Vrindavan. So Rupa Goswami's verse reads, my dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna in this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still I would like to go to the bank of the Yamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So, Rupa Goswami wrote that verse on a palm leaf, with which he placed somewhere in his thatched roof and went to bathe in the sea. And just at that time, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went there to meet him. And when he saw the leaf pushed into the roof and saw the verse, he began to read it. And after reading the verse, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took that verse and showed it to Swarup Damodar for him to examine. And then the Lord questioned him, how could Rupa Goswami have understood my heart? And Swarup Damodar replied, only by your causeless mercy. No one could understand the meaning. No one otherwise could understand this meaning. I can therefore guess that you have bestowed your causeless mercy upon him. And so by the causeless mercy of these great souls, we are able to get a glimpse of into the heart of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita explains the reasons for Sri Krishna Chaitanya's appearance. Lord Krishna in his pastimes was in his position, was unable to experience the glory of Srimati Radharani's love for him, the wonderful qualities in him that she relishes through her love, and the indescribable happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. Thus, Lord Krishna, assuming the guise of a devotee, adopted the mood and complexion of Shri Radharani and descended in Navadvip to fulfill his innermost desire, to experience Srimati Radharani's ecstatic love for him. So Navadvip Dham is a manifestation, in a way, of Srimati Radharani's love for Krishna. The Puranas also describe that when, in the state of Mahabhav, the highest ecstasy, Srimati Radharani reached the extreme in ecstatic feelings of separation from Krishna, he entered into her heart and stole her feeling of Mahabhav. that Mahabhav became manifest as Navadvip Dham. Thus, to better understand Sri Mayapur Dham and the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we should understand Radharani's mood of separation. And this is very revealing, very significant and very revealing. Once, when Krishna left the company of the gopis, Radharani began to search for him in one forest after another, crying in intense separation. She approached a kadamba tree. Where is Krishna? She approached Govardhan Hill. Where is Krishna? She wandered everywhere throughout Vraja, crying, where is Krishna? He is more dear to me than my own life. How can I live without his service? And then, in divine madness, she fainted. After some time, when Krishna came, he addressed Radharani. I am extremely pleased with you. You may ask from me whatever you wish. And Radharani requested 3 things. 1, please promise me that you will always remain in Vraja, unseen by those without devotion. 2, please never disappoint the devotees who reside here, maintaining their lives by their love for you alone, helping to attain your lotus feet. And 3, please always shower your mercy on your devotees and give them shelter at your lotus feet. So we see that even though Srimati Radharani had been experiencing extreme separation from Krishna, when Krishna asked her what she wanted, she did not think of herself. She thought of the suffering of others. That was her mood of separation, filled with compassion. Srimati Radharani's desire to please Krishna is so pure and so intense that she wants to engage every living entity for Krishna's pleasure, to give them Krishna's service and association. Krishna has an unlimited desire to enjoy, and Radha has the unlimited desire to fulfill Krishna's desires. And Lord Chaitanya and our Srila Prabhupada have the same desire to engage unlimited numbers of living entities in Krishna's service. Like Srimati Radharani, the preacher wants to arrange for others to get Krishna's association, to serve him. So, I've gone a little over time. I'm not sure how strict we are, or how limited we are.
We're okay.
Huh?
We are okay to continue, Maharaj.
We're okay to continue. Okay, good. So, yes, thank you, Ram Vijay Prabhu, for organizing this program and inviting me. And now, if any of the devotees would like to make any comments or ask any questions, they can raise their hands. There's a hand raising feature. Or you can just physically raise your hand. And yes, especially, I mean, even otherwise, I would like you all to put on your cameras, but especially if you're going to ask a question or make a comment. Let's see what's in the chat. Oh, I see.
We have a question from Brahma Samhita Prabhu. I'm going to unmute them.
Okay, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Pronounced, I guess I wanted to observe that in terms of compassion, we see that in our literature, two very great devotees, namely Arjuna and Bharat Maharaj, became bewildered by compassion. And also, even in the life of Lord Chaitanya, there's the incident of Chota Haridas, where it seemed like Lord Chaitanya was very strict. And so, yeah, it seems like there is compassion on the part of devotees, but sometimes I suppose compassion can be bewildering. And not only that, but it seems like sometimes chastisement is necessary. So I was wondering if maybe you could give us some thoughts on that.
Yes. If one is in the position of an authority, he's responsible to train and correct his subordinates or dependents. And that is one's duty. In fact, once Srila Prabhupada said the only thing he doesn't like about being a spiritual master is that he has to correct his disciples, and they're all Vaishnavas. But there was one incident in Juhu when by mail, Srila Prabhupada, chided me very severely. There was some, well, the way it was explained to Srila Prabhupada, there was some negligence in the care of the deities. And Srila Prabhupada wrote me a letter because I was the temple president, and he said, this is a very abominable affair. And that really shook me up. And I really sort of had to struggle. And so I'll read you what Srila Prabhupada wrote subsequently. So after I got that letter, well, he wrote, I have got some reports that the deities in Bombay are being much neglected. This is most abominable affair. Radha and Krishna should never be neglected or left unprotected. So I'm wondering what you have done to rectify the situation. So the context was that anyway, that's not really the point. But the point is that this letter, really affected me. But I wrote back, accepting his criticism and promising to improve. But Srila Prabhupada wrote back, a very nice letter in which he explained that his only interest was to see that I and all of his other disciples made advancement in Krishna consciousness. And so if I find some criticism, I should take it in that spirit and not otherwise. So yes, sometimes when we're in a position of authority, we have to correct our subordinates. But, with love, not out of the mode of passion or, anger or enmity, but out of sympathy to help the person. And I knew that was the case with Srila Prabhupada all along, but especially I felt satisfied when he wrote that letter that, my only concern is to see that you and all of my other disciples progress in Krishna consciousness. And he said, not that the guru should always be flattering the disciples. So, yeah, I'm sure you've heard the expression tough love. Yeah, tough love. Sometimes we show our love by being tough on someone for their benefit, so that they don't go in a bad way or continue to go in a bad way. Yeah, as far as Arjuna's compassion, Srila Prabhupada said different things about it. That because he was a devotee, so he was naturally compassionate, and he praised it. But when that compassion came in the way of his service to Krishna, then that so-called compassion was not favorable. So, yeah. An interesting question. Good question. Is there more?
Yes, Maharaj, there is one more. I will unmute Nirja Mataji.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada, and Hare Krishna devotees. So I don't have a question, but it was very nice to hear during the introduction about Maharaj's connection with Juhu temple. So, it's very interesting to know how we keep getting prasad, even if we are in ISKCON or out of ISKCON. So my maternal grandfather used to visit Juhu temple because it was very near his recording theaters. He was a singer at Singers Association. So he used to bring prasad from temple, and he used to always say Hare Rama Hare Krishna temple. So I now think he used to get from that temple for all of us, and we all used to like it so much. He'll get choice for all. So now I think the period when Maharaj was there and the prasad, what he used to bring, so it helped all of us a lot in our devotional services. So thank you very much, Maharaj, for all that. I'm not sure about years yet, but this is just my rough estimate. It may be true.
Wonderful.
Very well. Yeah.
What was his name?
Oh, his name is his actual name is Sri Narsingha Rao Chalmela, but he goes within film industry fraternity by Sunil Kumar. And then you'll be glad to know that he is so close to all of these famous singers including Lata Mangeshkar and all. Although he is not materially renowned, but in closed circuit, he was very famous. He used to be at a post of Cine Singers Association, which is like not paid, voluntary. But yeah, my grandparents were also very helpful in teaching me all the things which I keep hearing in temple now. So yeah, really thankful to all of you, Maharaj.
Hi, wonderful.
Haribol.
Excellent.
I don't see any more hands raised. So,
All right.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, generally we understand there are different rasas with Sri Krishna, Santaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, Vatsalyaras, and Madhuryaras. Like that, are there any rasas with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? How do we understand that?
That's a very good question. The basic ras with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because he's a guru, he's an acharya. So the basic ras with him is dasya ras, as it would be with the guru. There's a deviant sect called Gauranga Nagaris, who have the idea of having like a conjugal relationship with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has condemned them. I mean, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has identified various deviant sects of so-called devotees who claim to be followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of them is this Gauranga Nagari. That's not at all proper. No, our mood in relation to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Dasiras, like a disciple, servant, disciple. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
I see one more question. So we'll take this as a last question, and then we'll move to the next part of the program.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
100 pranams. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you. Maharaj, I have a question about the rasas, and also, if we are in a particular rasa, is it possible to elevate ourselves probably from, say, Vatsalya to Madhurya? Is it possible? Or do we stay eternally in a particular rasa?
It's a very good question. In principle, our rasa with Krishna is fixed. It's eternal. But there is a case described in Sri Brihad Bhagavatamrita, where a devotee went, you could say, from a lower rasa to a higher rasa. And the explanation is that somehow he didn't, he didn't fully realize his rasa.
Okay.
When he, for some time, was in a different rasa.
Okay.
And it's also very interesting in the Nectar of Devotion. It is stated that if one commits offenses, he can be degraded to a lower rasa. But in principle, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, Tadya Kabulai, love for Krishna is established eternally in the heart. That means our specific relationship with Krishna in a particular rasa is fixed. and it doesn't change. And whatever our rasa is with Krishna, we feel completely satisfied. We don't look at someone else, oh, I wish I could be that. We're completely satisfied in our eternal relationship.
Sorry, Maharaj, I didn't hear the last sentence because it wasn't very clear. Sorry.
Oh, yes. That
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
whatever is our rasa with Krishna, we're completely satisfied in it. Yeah, because it's natural for us. It's perfect for us, and we don't look at someone else and think, "Oh, I wish I could be in that situation." No, we serve Krishna in our position, which is eternal.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Gopal Chandra Prabhu.
Thank you all devotees for the beautiful questions. Thank you very much, Maharaj, for the fabulous class today and giving your association for all of us. Ramaji Prabhu, maybe if we can unmute everybody so that we can all show our appreciation for Maharaj just for a few seconds.
Okay, yes, we can do that. I also know that Amala Kirtan Prabhu is here. Can we just have him go first and then
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
here, because Maharaj is here and he wanted to chant today in association of Maharaj. So
Beautiful, Jai.
we'll put Amala Kirtan Prabhu. Where are you? Let's see if we can get you on spotlight here.
Like the old days in Dallas.
Yes. You're on mute. Oh yeah, let me unmute you. Sorry, my fault. There you go.
Back on music. There.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
this is so great to see you again. Hare.
Yes, happy to see you too.
Yeah, just like the old days in Dallas. Yeah, I remember we had those kirtans on Sundays, and you were the only Maharaj that would come down and participate in kirtans every Sunday evening. Thank you so much for your kind of encouragement and pushing us to keep doing that there. Hare. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Jai. We're going to do a quick bhajan. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo Mora. Yes, Jai. Haribo. We also have a few devotees here and a few kids. Just so everyone knows, if you hear some noise in the background, that's what's happening. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Toya Koro More Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More Toma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsare Toma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsare Patita Pavana Hetu Toba Bhuta Patita Pavana Hetu Toba Bhuta Moshamapa Chita Prabha Napaiveya Moshamapa Chita Prabhu Napaiveya Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Shuke Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Shuki Kripa Bolo Khana Karo Hami Boro Dukhi Kripa Bolo Khana Karo Hami Boro Dukhi Toya Kuro Sitapati Odvaita Gosha Doya Kuro Sitapati Advaita Gosha Tova Kripa Bole Pahai Chaitanya Nita Tava Kripa Bole Pahai Chaitanya Nita Aha Kriswarup Shanatana Ruparagona Swarup Sanatana Ruparaguna Bhakta Juga Sri Vaha Prabhu Lokana Bhakta Juga Sri Vaha Prabhu Lokana Doya Kuru Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas Doya Kuru Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas Ramachandra Shangamage Narottamadas Ramachandra Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Jaya Nitai, Gaura Hari, 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 Nitai, Gaura Jai Nitai Gaura Brahmanande Hari Bol. Jai Maharaj Hari Bol.
Thank you, dear Amalakirtan Prabhu, for such a beautiful, melodious, and touching bhajan. You literally took us to the Mayapur Dham. Thank you very much. Now, we have a small request for Maharaj. Maharaj, if it is possible for you, would you mind singing the Narsingha prayers for us? Last time when you did a program for us, you led the Narsingha prayers. So we have devotees requesting for that, if it's possible for you.
Yes, with pleasure.
Thank you, Maharaj. Whenever you're ready.
Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Hiranyakashipu Rakshaha Ito Nishinga Parato Nishingo Ito Nishinga Parato Nishingo Yato Yato Yami Tato Nishinga Maye Nishingo Hridaye Nishingo Shinga Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanumengam Keshavajita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Tavakara Kamala Varena Kamaduta Shinga Dalita Hiranyakasipu Anubringam Keshavajita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jai Jagadisha Hare Jaya Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev, Nrsimhadev, Jaya Nrsimhadev. Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you very much for such a sweet Narsingha prayer. We know Narsinghadev is ferocious, but even he would melt listening to this prayer. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for making very special for us today, giving your association, and so that we can imbibe in the thoughts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on this auspicious day.